My name is Sarah and I am the founder and co-CEO of iDissent. Have you ever wanted to complain about something and then you've given up? Was it too stressful? Too time consuming? Maybe you don't like conflict. Well, if you said yes, then you'd be with the 96% of people that we surveyed who would use our service. iDissent is a personal complaint writing service. So how does that work? Well, the client comes to us and they tell us in plain English a little bit about what's happened and what their ideal resolution is. And from there, we'll write a reasoned and professional complaint letter that they can send off themselves. Now, it might surprise you to know that 760,000 complaints are written to industry bodies every year. Now, at that figure, our market valuation is $11.5 million. But that figure, it doesn't account for the innumerable amount of complaints that are either never written at all or never escalate to those industry bodies. So if we assume that only 1 in 10 complaints escalates to those industry bodies, then our market valuation is as high as $115 million. Now, what is so innovative and disruptive about iDissent is that we are a first-to-market model. But is it a model that people need? Well, yes, they absolutely do need this service, and that's for 3 primary reasons. People don't like writing complaints, and that's because it's stressful. It's really time-consuming, and people often come to the table with quite a considerable amount of conflict adversity. Now, this is something that I've observed in my personal capacity and later market tested when I've been writing these complaint emails in the market for people I don't know on an online platform. And it was actually a client who came to me after I took her through the life cycle of her complaint and offered unsolicited payment. And it was then that I knew that there was a real market need and a market value for our services. So what is this life cycle that iDissent can take our clients through? Well, at the first instance, a complainant must go to an industry or body and put them on notice of their complaint and their ideal resolution. And this is the main sector of the market that iDissent will capture. If it isn't resolved at that stage, then you can escalate it and take it to an industry or complaint body. And this provides a further avenue for repeat business for iDissent. If that doesn't work, then you can consult a lawyer. And what iDissent's going to do is build partnerships with law firms and procure a referral fee to assist our clients throughout the very final stage of that life cycle. So I've written mainly consumer complaints. I've written a lot of complaints in the university context. And for us, that really culminates in our gateway preliminary market of international students. Not only for those 3 primary reasons do they find writing complaints difficult, but there may also be an added language barrier that complicates the whole process. Now, iDissent has a marketing strategy that's tailored to that initial market, and then we're going to expand upon that in our development and our growth phase to the larger complaint market. So our revenue stream is at the market-tested price point of $15 per complaint, and our break-even sales are achieved at a very low 80 units. Now, assuming that iDissent, quite conservatively, only captures 1.5% of the total complaint market in the first year of our operation, our projected net income is $686,000. Now, that figure grows to $2.5 million at a 5.5% market share, which we will procure by the end of our 3rd year. What's really great about operating iDissent is that we have very minimal capital outlay and almost all of our costs are variable. And they're only incurred in relation to the workload that iDissent takes on, so that's going to be in line with our growth. The team consists of myself. I'm going to provide the primary service offering. We also have a CFO and joint CEO, Thomas McKenzie. He provides the strategic and financial assistance for our company. We've also procured an IT professional, Craig Chiffers, and he is going to assist us in web development, and this is a procurement which drastically reduces our company's cost base. Now, when I was younger, my parents gave me some astute parental advice, as I'm sure they gave to you. And they said to me, Sarah, when you go out into the world and you choose what it is that you want to do it with passion, but also make sure that it's something that you're good at. Well, as it turns out, I'm really good at relentlessly complaining about stuff. Really, that's really what I'm good at. But crucially, it's my clients that would agree. And that's because I consistently provide to them professional, reasoned complaint letters that meet their brief in a timely fashion and pave the way towards a resolution. I went to law school to help people. I went to law school to advocate on people's behalf. Now that's something that I've been doing with iDissent on a very small scale. Now we want to take that to market, disrupt that market, and help a lot more people. Thank you.
Well done, Sarah. That was great. Very well thought out idea. I'm not there. I don't like writing complaint letters. Just a question in relation to the $15 per letter. So even though your clients will be writing into you and they have a vague idea perhaps of the outcome that they want to achieve, the time invested with yourself and your team as it grows, how do you feel that $15 is going to cover that investment in time?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now I'm the one who's writing most of those complaint letters, and I can write those complaint letters in 10 to 15 minutes, and that's because they follow quite a consistent structure. So in order for iDissent to be scalable, we're going to build templates. And those templates serve a couple of purposes. The first purpose is that it's going to make it much more efficient for us to write those complaint letters, and we're going to make them by the segments that we're writing them in most. And it's also going to assist us in our casualised workforce in allowing for them to go through the way that iDissent would write a complaint. Our casualised workforce is going to consist of law students. That's because when you go to law school, you learn how to extract material facts very quickly from a factual matrix, and then apply those legal concepts very quickly and easily to that. So I think that whilst the cost base is low for our consumer, it's also going to be viable for us going forward. I think Cliff, I think you can talk about that.
So the variable cost equation that we formed to come to the income projections that we made included the cost of every individual complaint letter. We took the assumption that it would be $23 to $50 an hour, which is about the level of a law student working at a casual job, and writing for an hour is $6.25. So the income is after those. Sarah's writing them at the moment, but as it expands out, there'll be that cost within the structure. But the $15 was actually posed to people as, what would you be prepared to pay? And there was 5, 10, 15, and 20. And I think it was 60% of people, 67% picked 15 or 20. And they were given the option of 5 and 10. So we perceive that the value is perceived on the consumer level, and because the variable cost base is quite low. And we've also included PayPal expenses that they might take, because we assume that portal is going to be used on our website of 2.6% of sales. So that was how the variable cost equation was formed, and that's already accosted in the man hours that are related to the individual complaint letters.
And although initially you're writing letters on behalf of people who have a complaint, would you also look at response letters to client on the side of the client?
Well, I mean, Sarah's already been in the market and has been taking people through the life cycle that she spoke about already. But as well, we also want to get that B2B as well. So, for example, if you're going to have people slam your social media page full of complaints,
yeah,
that's going to be bad for business. If we can get to that point where we're managing the complaints really well, potentially there's that additional offering to companies.
Okay, thank you.
When you say in the market already, are you charging people for this sort of service right now on an ad hoc basis, or?
No, I haven't done that yet, mainly because I've been drawing all of my attention in the last 3 months to actually forming the business line for iDissent in the Genesis program. So I have written a few complaint emails for people during this time, and I've done that in exchange for market research. So they've agreed to an ongoing sort of like market research scheme that we've been developing, and that sort of also includes what their resolution is, if they came to a resolution, if they're happy down the track as well. So I've taken that in exchange for a payment. at the moment, but I have been writing these complaint emails sort of in an online platform for people for over the past year at a higher frequency once they became known as that go-to person when there has been a problem, particularly a problem where there may be a legal basis behind it. But I've also been doing this on that kind of online platform for quite a lot longer than that, and for friends and family as well. So
I think it's also important to note that the first time when Sarah was writing this and didn't perceive it necessarily as a business, an individual actually said, I want to remunerate you for
yes,
this.
yeah.
So that was where the span of, hey, why don't we actually...
Did you take their money?
Do you know I didn't, which now, looking back on it in the Genesis program, I'm like, that would have been good validation. You're like, no, I didn't. At the time, actually, I said to her, I was like, oh, thank you so much, that's really generous, but absolutely not. You know, I just want to help you, and the way that I foresaw writing these complaint emails to people is that there were quite complex problems that were arising, often with a legal basis. And I've been in law school for 5 years, hopefully not for nothing. So I think for me that 5 to 15 minutes is, you know, okay. But later on we were talking about it, and she convinced me that friends and family would use this and that people really struggle. And then I came to Genesis very quickly after that.
What's the line between helping someone write a complaint letter and providing legal advice?
Yeah, absolutely. So we definitely will have guarantees that we're not providing legal advice. What we do is articulate the legal basis of a claim, and that's quite different. So for example, I've written a few complaint letters for people. Well, one of them quite notably had an absolutely horrible haircut. She wanted to go blonde, ended up somewhere between brown and green, wasn't good. And so the types of legal basis that I'm talking about is sort of writing a complaint letter that says, when I go to a premium service, I expect it to be conducted with due care, skill and diligence. I expect this product and service to be fit for purpose. Now they're not necessarily legal, like that wouldn't be the legal advice that you would give to someone in that circumstance. But what it does is it articulates those kind of consumer law principles behind the complaint, and hopefully that invokes a better response. And if it doesn't invoke a response, as it did with that particular client, we can then escalate it onto complaint bodies, and they're going to read those complaint letters, and it's going to articulate to them why they should take it on. And in that case, they actually did take it on.
And I might add as well, I worked for 3 months at the Australian Human Rights Commission, and there's a role called conciliators, which basically just said you might want to consider going to the state or the federal discrimination commission and form a complaint there. You might want to go to the ACCC and form a complaint there. And that's not necessarily legal advice. That's more directing the complaint into the nature and the character of what's actually occurred. But the other big point is that we deliberately decided we're not going to bill on a no-win, no-fee basis. We're going to bill on we're giving you a letter and we accept the money for that, because that's where our value is, not necessarily in saying this is the route you should take or this is the outcome that you're ideally looking for.
Brief question, answer please.
Sorry.
Very quick question for you. I sense you intending to go ahead with this business, but maybe not quite sure. So what one thing would push you in the direction of saying, yes, we're definitely going to do it? What do you need to push you into making it into a real business?
I think, I can speak on my behalf, but I think that the idea of working with Sarah, who's my sister, and we've kind of been confidants since I was born. I'm the youngest of 2, and I'd love to work with Sarah. And I think if we were validated in the market and we were making money from this, we'd be absolutely thrilled to go ahead with it. I think that personal level is something I've spoken a lot about. We've always kind of been very close, and I think in a business context we have learned that through this process as well. And I think if we could make it proven and tested, we could start making revenue. I don't think either of us should back out of it.
I think my two second answer, I promise, is that I am very, very committed to doing this. This is something that started as an idea that I thought was too silly to tell my parents and Tom actually himself. It was only until I got into Genesis that I was like, so I've been doing this, and this is something I'm really passionate about, and now it's grown into a real dream. This is something that I'm 100% committed to pursuing, and I foresee myself pursuing this as soon as I finish law school in the next 6 months. So I guess just a big few deep breaths is what will motivate me to take that on seriously.
And the winner of this first category is iDissent.
So this award is actually for the idea that best addressed a megatrend. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay, and the third prize, that is for the best woman leader, goes to Sarah Mackenzie.